The dollar, you consider the most powerful currency in the world, might be heading toward its biggest crisis ever. And all of this is set to unfold in 2026. I'm not here to sell you conspiracy theories. I'm giving you facts that Federal Reserve officials, the IMF, and Wall Street insiders are actively discussing. So if you're concerned about your savings, if you want to understand what's about to happen to the global economy in the next 12 months, this video is for you. 2026 isn't just another random year. It's the year when three massive forces will collide simultaneously. First, America's national debt has just crossed $36.2 trillion. To put this in perspective, this is so much money that if you spent $1 million every single day, it would take you 99,000 years to finish it. And here's the most terrifying part. Just on interest payments, meaning just paying the interest on this debt, America is now spending $1.2 trillion annually. That's more than the entire defense budget. Second, BRICS nations. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa are actively planning to replace the dollar. In 2024, their trade without the dollar exceeded $200 billion. Iran and Saudi Arabia have also joined BRICS. These countries represent 45% of the global population and 35% of world GDP. Third, the Federal Reserve now faces an impossible choice. If they lower interest rates, inflation could return with a vengeance. If they keep rates high, a recession is virtually guaranteed. This is the classic damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. After the Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944, the dollar became the world's reserve currency. This meant every country needed dollars to buy oil, gold, or conduct international trade. This was a superpower for America. They could print as many dollars as they wanted because demand was always there. But now in 2026, for the first time in 80 years, this dominance is under serious threat. Why? Central banks are reducing their dollar reserves. In 2020, the dollar's share of global reserves was 71%. By 2025, it had fallen to 58%. This is the fastest decline we've ever seen. China has launched the digital yuan, and 260 million users are now using. 90% of Russia and China's bilateral trade now happens in non-dollar currencies. Saudi Arabia, which for decades sold oil exclusively in dollars, is now accepting yuan and other currencies. In March 2026, America will need to raise its debt ceiling again. But this time, the political environment is completely different. Congress is extremely polarized. A strong faction of Republicans opposes raising the debt ceiling without spending cuts. Democrats don't want social programs cut. The result? A potential default risk. In 2023, when this last happened, Fitch downgraded the U.S. credit rating. This time, if there's a default even for just a few days, the consequences will be global. Treasury bonds, considered the safest investment in the world, will suddenly become risky. And then what happens? Panic selling, sky-high interest rates, stock market crash. And most dangerously, countries will start dumping their dollar reserves at an accelerated pace. Right now in January 2026, inflation sits at 2.9%. This might seem low, but it's above the Federal Reserve's 2% target. And groceries, rent, healthcare, these are all increasing much faster. If the Fed lowers interest rates to boost investment, inflation could jump back to 4 to 5%. For the middle class, this is a disaster. But if they keep rates high, currently at 4.25% to 4.50%, businesses can't take loans. The housing market freezes, unemployment rises. And unemployment means less tax revenue, which means the deficit grows even more. It's a vicious cycle. And in 2026, this cycle is going to break, one way or another. The dollar's power isn't just about economics. It's about geopolitics. America has used sanctions as a weapon against Russia, Iran, and North Korea. But now the world has realized that if your economy is dependent on the dollar, America controls your economic life. So alternatives are being sought. BRICS is working on developing a currency that could be gold-backed. China's Belt and Road Initiative is promoting the yuan in 150-plus countries. The United Arab Emirates and India are conducting direct rupee dirham trade. De-dollarization is a slow process, but it's going to accelerate in 2026. Because when a reserve currency fails, it happens suddenly, not gradually. History tells us this. The British pound was dominant in the 1920s, but was finished by the 1940s. The Spanish silver dollar dominated for 300 years, then collapsed within 50 years if the dollar weakens. 1. Import prices will rise. Electronics, cars, clothes, everything will become more expensive because they're purchased in foreign currencies. 2. Your savings will lose value. If you have dollar-based investments, your purchasing power will decline. 3. Job market will be affected. Export companies will struggle. Multinationals will restructure. 4. Real estate could crash. Foreign investors who buy U.S. property will pull back. But there will also be opportunities. Gold and silver will rally. Bitcoin and crypto could surge. Emerging markets will see growth. U.S. exports will become competitive if the dollar weakens. Look, I'm not saying the dollar will collapse overnight, but 2026 is the inflection point where the trajectory will change. America is still the world's largest economy. U.S. military dominance is real. Innovation is happening in Silicon Valley. All these factors support the dollar. But when you have $36 trillion in debt, when geopolitical rivals are organizing, when your own political system is dysfunctional, the message is loud and clear. Smart people are diversifying. They're not thinking just in dollars. They're looking at assets that protect against inflation and currency devaluation. 2026 is critical because it's the year when the consequences of procrastination will show. America has ignored these problems for decades. Now the bill has come due. So what do you think? Will the dollar survive? Is de-dollarization a real threat? Share your thoughts in the comment section. And if you found this video informative, share it because everyone needs to know this information. Whether you're an investor, a student, or just an everyday middle-class individual. An economic tsunami is coming. Be prepared.